YOLO interesting people on YouTube. So today I want to talk to you guys about communism in the USSR. And the reason why I want to talk about communism in the USSR is to tell you the truth about certain shit, right? And to compare it to what is actually occurring in the United States now. Now I have a very unique perspective on this communism and USSR shit because I believe that the collapse of the Soviet Union weakened the United States. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is once the USSR collapsed, basically America sat on its ass. The USSR was essentially like Burger King to McDonald's. Without competition, you become a monopoly. And in terms of governments, or in terms of when government is concerned, a monopoly means that you as an everyday citizen will suffer. My family is actually from the USSR. I was born in the USSR, but I'm an American. I grew up here. This is all I know. Do not get what I'm saying twisted in any way, shape, or form for me being pro-communism. I'm not pro-communism. I love my freedoms. Communism is completely against our fundamental principles in the United States in regards to our freedoms. But like all things, nothing is ever all bad. If you actually talk to people that lived in the USSR and ask them about the good things about the USSR, they won't be shy to tell you a few really good things about it. Now, I'm just gonna compare, and you be the judge of how things are, right? Like in the United States, you have the right to free enterprise, partially free enterprise. You have the right to go and become an Elon Musk, a Bill Gates. But the statistics are not in your favor. You are going to be the 99% majority, right? Now in the USSR, you could have strived and became an Elon Musk or a Bill Gates. You might have gotten paid a little bit more, but you were not going to get paid anywhere near what a Elon Musk or a Bill Gates gets paid. But you would have had the name, you would have had the prowess, you would have had, the infamy, right? Now, in the USSR, if you turned 18 years old, it was mandatory for you to go to the military for 2 years. And then when you got married, government gave you a house. When you had kids, they gave you a bigger house. They paid you. You had to go to work. That your obligation was that you had to go to work. You couldn't be homeless there. They would arrest you and charge you for being a bum. And then once you were released, they would force you to go get a job and prove that you have a job and that you're working. But if you were an everyday normal person that just wants to work and raise a family and stuff like that, you got your house and then they gave you a car, they gave you money so you can buy the trinkets and all the nonsense that you want to buy. Everything was based on wholesale prices, right? There was no competition in terms of, buying things. Everything was just a set price. Where over here, everything is about business. It's about competition. It's about, right? Every McDonald's has its Burger King across the street. Now, during the 70s and 80s, during the times that people were like, oh, it was great in the Soviet Union because of this, it was great in the United States. And it was great in the United States because the United States had to prove to its citizens and the citizens around the world that we were the better country. We were the one doing better in terms of our civilians, in terms of the everyday working Joe, But once the Soviet Union collapsed, well, they didn't have to prove anything anymore. Suddenly, things started to kind of spiral downhill. And I'm seeing the same things taking place now that my parents saw in the USSR before the collapse. There's a whole bunch of mismanagement, a whole bunch of crooked politicians trying to take advantage of every single thing and milk the cow until it's a corpse. Now, I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican or whatever. When other countries look at the United States, no one thinks about Democrat, Republican. They think of you're an American. Just the same way when you look at Russia today, you're not like Putin's independent. That means nothing to you. But in Russia, I'm sure it means something to some people that Putin is independent. But who gives a fuck what he is? And who gives a fuck if the people that you like are Democrats or Republicans? A good idea is a good fucking idea. A bad idea is a bad fucking idea. I don't care whose mouth it's coming from. People are so lost in this left and right and all this stuff that they're forgetting to hold people accountable. As an American, are you happy with what is happening with your country, my country? As an American, are you happy with what's happening? I don't care what party you subscribe to. They're running it to the fucking ground. We pay taxes. This country was based on not paying tax, right? The whole Boston Tea Party and all that shit. But the minute we started paying the tax, right? Like tax it's money to the government to take care of a lot of shit, like the streets, right? You have nice streets because of taxation. We pay like 13% sales tax in California. Not to mention all the other fucking taxes. So at what point were we supposed to have a surplus? Is a question I really want answered. All these people, 300 million Americans working and paying taxes and all this shit, at what point were we supposed to have a surplus? The fruits of our labor were supposed to arrive us at a destination of surplus, where things like healthcare could have been taken care of across the board, where healthcare could have been a human right. That's not a communist way of thinking, right? Like we have, what is it, the Medicare program, where, people get old, they pitch in as they're working for 40 years, and when they retire, government gives them a check every month so that they could pay their bills. I can argue that's a communist way of thinking, right? But it's not. It's logic. It's humane. You have to take care of the old. You have to take care of the sick. And you have to take care of the young. Otherwise, you're not a civilized country. I think Canada has free health care. Most of Europe has free health care. It is a human right to have fresh water and good food and clean air. The question is, what the fuck have you guys been doing that we haven't got to a point of surplus where we could start thinking about expanding the welfare of the people in this country, my fellow Americans and citizens? How is it that we're in like a multi-trillion-dollar debt constantly? You, the person listening to this right now, man, if you were to fuck up in any way, shape, or form, you'd be fired. You'd be in debt. Your business would get shut down. You'd be going to jail. You'd be going to prison. Your life would be ruined if you were to mess up in a multitude of ways. How is there no responsibility and accountability for these people running this beautiful country to the ground, man? It's a shame. No one wants to hold them accountable. They're cemented in place. They're cemented in place. All this shit happened in the USSR. You don't think corruption and just people cemented in place, never getting fired, this good old boys club of people that ran that country into the fucking ground? You don't think that happened over there, where like a whole bunch of people prospered from an entire nation of a whole bunch of nations just collapsing? People profited off it. And I'm not talking about communism like Stalin communism. That's like America's slavery. It was all fucked up for everybody. It was just all fucked up across the board. The amount of family members I have that were sent to the gulags is crazy. Like my grandparents' generation, crazy the amount of people that got sent to the gulags. It was fucked up for everybody. And again, that's their history, and that's their slavery in a sense, in comparison to the horrific things that nations do throughout their history, right? I'm just astonished, man, that no one wants to hold people accountable. Why? Because you voted for them and then they turned out to be a piece of shit? They promised you things, and then what? Like, you're so keen on this Democrat, Republican shit, you don't want to hold someone from the same fucking gang liable for their fuck-ups? Look what they're doing to your kids, man, the way they're raising them now. It's a shame. They're teaching them, your boy's a girl, your girl's a boy. They're in fucking elementary school. It's a shame. If you guys have shame, right? All I'm saying is, the world has a whole bunch of different countries, man. I think we as Americans, we're pretty intelligent in comparison to the rest, most countries, right? But how is it that we're not bright enough to be like, you know what? This one idea, this one thing in Switzerland is a good idea. This one thing that they're doing in Zimbabwe is a good idea. This one thing that Russia is doing is a good idea. They put it into practice. We watched it. It's working. It's a good idea. Let's do it here. Nothing is all bad, bro. Nothing is all bad. I don't care what period and time, the most horrific time in history, you can pick out something good. Why are we not able to look around as a first world nation and be like, you know what, this one thing this country did right? Even though we don't agree with them, even though we look at them funny and we think they're our adversaries and all this stuff, but this one thing they're doing right. Good idea is a good idea. Bad idea is a bad idea. And don't twist what I'm saying in any way, shape, or form that I am pro-communist. I am not pro-fucking communist. I'm an American. I just don't give a fuck. I support the troops. Solo, YOLO, BOLO. Peace.